So, if we round this up, this book, what would you say? How is this book any different than all these other books by former Trump employees who have, in the last few years, there are several people who left the White House and then they wrote a book. How is this book any different than all these other books?
I think it really shines a very bright light on what exactly was going on in the White House with all of the different individuals involved and how they perceived Afghanistan. Like I said, Afghanistan is mentioned almost on every page of the book. Okay, it shows Trump's attitude, his policy, his attitude toward Afghanistan and Afghans, the Afghan government, which, as I said, he basically speaks of it like it's a protectorate that's leeching off the US. He doesn't even know or acknowledge there's a difference between Ashraf Ghani and Hamid Karzai. Okay. It's a shocking admission that Trump routinely saying, you're getting your asses kicked, we're getting our asses kicked, we're losing, they defeated us. There's the whole defeatist element to it, which actually strengthens and legitimizes the Taliban in Afghanistan, because they can say, look, even the former national security advisor is confirming that we beat the Americans, okay? And it's also a propaganda win for the Talibs, because actually it doesn't seem to be between Kabul and Washington a strategic partnership based on shared values. No, Trump is going on and he's ranting about how trillions of dollars were spent, so many people died that he didn't even want to talk about it, that everything short of nuclear weapons was tried. It's actually, I would say, domestically in Afghanistan, obviously this book is written in English, but domestically in Afghanistan, it's actually quite a significant confirmation of the Talib narrative that we've seen over the last 19 years. And there is no other way to put that. Honestly, like, if there was another way to put that, I'd be glad to hear. But, if Trump is saying we lost, if Trump is saying we bombed the crap out of them, Ashraf Ghani is this, the government is inept, they are corrupt, we pay for the whole thing, the Talibs are beating us, we tried everything and we can't win. There's only one faction in Afghanistan that's going to win from that, and I'll leave it up to the viewers, to the viewers and the listeners to decide as to who which faction that is.
But how would you explain this? Why does someone like Bolton paint a picture that makes Taliban look like the winners? Why is he doing that?
Because that's exactly what he wants to do. Bolton is very much opposed to a peace deal. Okay.
Yeah.
But this peace deal, for a neutral observer, one would see it as a massive win for the Taliban, not in terms of them defeating the US, but in fact, in terms of the fact that it confers political legitimacy on them. People like Bolton are very aware of that. People like Bolton are essentially deriding Trump for being defeatist, for trying to conveniently ignore the fact, as they perceive it, that radical Islamic terrorists are eternally at war with the US. It defeats Bolton's narrative, and as such, Bolton is heavily invested as someone who believes that his foreign policy is rooted in a philosophy. He's heavily invested in defending that philosophy, and that the logical outcome of that means that he has to claim loudly, either directly or indirectly, that this is a win for the Taliban and a loss for the United States.
If we would characterize Bolton's political philosophy, how would you characterize it? Like if he's someone who is throughout his career, he was always, and he is still arguing in favor of endless war. So how would you characterize that? What kind of political philosophy is that?
I mean, we spoke about the term extremist, right? And I would count Bolton 100% as an extremist, for the simple reason that, look, so, I mean, at the end of the day, it's very unlikely for me that someone can be privy to such high classified levels of intelligence and view the world in such a binary way without being an extremist. Okay, Bolton is very similar to people like Al-Qaeda in the fact that they view the world as black and white. If someone is lumping together Iran, the Taliban, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Yemen, okay, all together as radical Islamic terrorism, okay, then it shows that, there's no other way to put it. It shows that it's someone that's pretty deluded, first of all, but also that they're probably intellectually dishonest and they're probably an extremist. And that is exactly how people like Al-Qaeda view the world. Yeah. You're either with us, the righteous Muslims, or you're on the side of the infidels, and it's totally permissible to kill you. Now, obviously, in the world within which we live today, Al-Qaeda beheading someone or stoning them to death is going to generate a lot of condemnation. But Bolton killing thousands of people by raining hellfire missiles on them or bombing them with B-52s is sadly not going to gain the same level of condemnation. They're two sides of the same coin.
And would you say that Bolton is basically a neocon or a Zionist, Christian Zionist version of Al-Qaeda?
He's definitely a Christian. He's I don't know much about, a lot of the times people tend to conflate evangelicals with any Christian Republican. For example, Ronald Reagan was not an evangelical. Donald Trump is not an evangelical. I don't know much about Bolton's personal religious practice, but he's very much on the record that he's a supporter of Israel. He opposes a two-state solution. He opposes the creation of a Palestinian state. He's practically as pro-Israel as Netanyahu is.
And his mission to endlessly promote war, American occupation of Muslim lands, and constant fear-mongering, constant attempts to mobilize the masses in Western countries against refugees, as he did at the Gatestone Institute. Basically, what I gather from all of this is that he does what Al-Qaeda was doing and still does. Do you remember that video? I'm not sure if you've seen it. There is a documentary made by Al-Qaeda in 2005, I think. It's called Manhattan Raids. And in that documentary, in that video, Al-Qaeda basically claims responsibility for 9/11. They say, we did that because we wanted America to invade Afghanistan so that we can bog down America in endless war and weaken them. So this is what Al-Qaeda claims that they wanted to achieve with the 9/11 attacks. So let's assume that was the case. Al-Qaeda basically wants the world to end up into endless war and conflict, and that's what they're after. And if you listen and if you read and if you look at someone like John Bolton, what he has done in the past 30 years and what he has said, he's doing the exact same thing, but on the opposite.
He's American. I think we should be pretty blunt here. He is American Al-Qaeda.
Yes.
There's the whole cliche of extremists. They need each other they're on opposite sides and they need each other. And people, a lot of the times, they sort of roll their eyes again and they're like, it's going to be another lecture about compassion and unity and loving each other and all of that. It's not the point here. It's the fact that Bolton, right, is lumping together Daesh, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban. Okay.
And Turkey.
Now it's a demonstrable empirical fact that the Taliban have never attacked the United States within the USA. That's an empirical fact, okay? It may be a fact that many people don't like, but someone who I'm not going to mention once said that facts don't care about your feelings here. Facts,
Yeah.
and that is the case here. So in Bolton's opinion, what the US should focus on is avoiding being attacked by these radical Islamic terrorists. Well, the Taliban's never actually attacked the US on its home. I mean, sure, it attacked the US in Afghanistan. That's a completely different story. That even Trump ended up coming out to Mullah Baradar saying, "You are a valiant people defending your own land and your own country," and all of the rosy stuff. But Bolton choosing to ignore that and paint the world in a binary whereby it's them, they want to attack us, and we have to constantly attack them and kill thousands of people in the process, is entirely identical to Al-Qaeda saying we need to attack them, to draw them in, to bog them down, to have endless conflict within which thousands of people will die, but at the end of the day will serve our purpose. So how can anyone argue that those two don't directly fit into each other? It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.